But you talk about a guy in 2019 that had 12 sacks, and that was his career high. And he's been pretty steady since. I say that like the last 4 seasons, he's had 9, 9, 8, and 5. And if you can get that on the Falcons roster, um, for a little bit of nothing, and I don't think he's going to be stupid Monday one because he's 32 years old now,
Mhm.
and he's getting up in age. And honestly, I think you can get this guy for under 10 million. Um, and let's say you can get him around 8 million. That's a steal because think about it. That's what you gave Calais Campbell a couple of years ago when you brought him in as a free agent, and he was 37 years old. So
Yeah.
Preston Smith would be one of my edge rushing free agents that I would love to see. On Ebiketie going into his contract year. Uh, Zach Harrison. I think he finally gets his feet up on them. He can play 3-4 in or outside linebacker. So Preston Smith helps this defense and this young team in that aspect of helping these young guys come along and for them to keep developing. But that's enough about me. Y'all give me y'all first guy. One of y'all.
Bryce, go ahead, man.
Yeah, so I'm gonna start in the secondary. I'm gonna start in the secondary with this one. One of the two corners I'm gonna mention. Um, I with obviously, cornerback position is kind of one of those positions you really don't know what it's gonna look like next year outside of AJ. I said that I would look into Darius Slay. He just got released today from the Eagles. One of the reasons why, primarily, is just because veteran experience, Super Bowl experience. I mean, he could still play. I mean, it's one of those things where obviously with the limited amount of money, you ain't gonna be able unless you draft a guy, which I don't know how people feel about that. But you're probably not going to get this super duper stud. So you need somebody steady at that spot. And Mike Hughes was steady for you last year. He wasn't bad. He wasn't great. He was just steady. And so I think you're looking for a guy maybe with veteran experience like a Darius Slay and kind of just hope that, he helps with young guys like Clark Phillips and them. And if they do add any other guys to that position, but I think he's also capable of holding it down at that spot. And on that end. And like I said, you can never doubt, like I said, you're trying to change the culture, create a winning culture in Atlanta. You got to bring in the guy who has won before. And so, and Darius has done that. So I think he'd be a guy, I'd look into for sure. He probably won't cost you a lot either. That's another reason with the limited cap room that the Falcons have. If you're looking to make a good value signing, I think Slay could be a good fit there. If that is something that he would be open to coming back to Atlanta, where he's from, or where he played.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, man. Oh, I'm going to go on the offensive side of the ball since you guys just went back-to-back defense. And this is only my only offensive player. And it's a player that Atlanta Falcon fans know well. It is Drew Dalman. I know it's rumors that Drew Dalman may have an expensive price tag. That's the objective. We'll see what happens. They're saying around about 20 million a season. At the end of the day, I know he wants to be an Atlanta Falcon. I know the Falcons want him as well. You think about it, he had a 1.3 break block rate and everything, which is low, so the career low. Also, you think about it, when Drew Dalman came back, and this is no negative feelings toward Ryan Newziel, but the run game returned. The run game got better from week 13 beyond. This is not just what I'm thinking. This is what I've seen, and this is also the stats. You guys can look it up yourself. The run game got better. So my point is the consistency, having camaraderie, chemistry is very underrated in sports. And having a young guy like Michael Penix, who is going to be your future, you need to have your center position locked up. And I don't think you really want to go into it with a rookie or somebody who's not as good as Drew Dalman as you're anchoring your offensive line for your new quarterback, Michael Penix. I feel like you should have more of a, let's see who's going to be protecting his blind side. That should be a better, situation. But
Right.
I can really see Drew Dalman, commanding the money because he deserves it. He really does. But hey, if there's one person that you spend money on offense to keep, I think it's Drew Dalman. I think you keep that consistency and that camaraderie. And again, chemistry in sports is very underrated. A lot of people don't consider it. And I mean, I think
I
that's
agree
one
with that
point.
100%. But what if the Falcons go out and make another Alex Mack type trade? Go out and trade for a center that can come in that's much cheaper. That's maybe just a tad bit older, but can come in and do the same thing Drew Dahmer can do as far as anchor the offensive line, call the audibles, and just do what he needs to do. I can see them taking that route as well because honestly, I would love to pay him, but 14 to 17 million for a center, that's a lot. When you got a guy right on the side of him that's making what about 15 million right now in Lindstrom. So I couldn't invest that much in my offensive line when you still got Matthews with a big contract and McGarry, he still has a nice little piece of change owed out to him. And I'm like, bro talk. He said, let Javon Gwen take a crack at center. I thought he would have been got a shot.
I thought about that as well. But I mean, let's just be honest. It's just a value. Like Drew Dalman has a value, but I agree with you all. That price tag is way too crazy. But he is the only person on the just on the offensive side that I'm looking at. I'm not looking in bringing in any receivers, none of that stuff like that. And the only reason why I'm even thinking about Dalman is that that chemistry and that consistency at that position. But I agree with you guys. 17 to 20 mil, we have bigger holes to fill, unfortunately. And sometimes, a guy like Drew Dalman will be a cap. But just for me and for this video purposes, Drew Dalman is the only guy that I got for you on offense. That is wild, bro. He is, and Creed Humphrey is the best of the best. And when we're talking about the center position, and that's crazy. That's crazy work to give. Because my thing is right quick, and chat, please chime in. When you hear best guard in the game, we think about Chris Lindstrom. And it's cut and dry. When you think about best center in the game, do you attach Drew Dalman's name to that? I don't think so.
Well, you also got to take into account too. They said that there's going to be bigger contracts just because the salary cap went up so much this offseason. So you're going to get bigger contracts. So now the Creed Humphrey deal may look good just because they gave him that money under a different salary cap. Now that the salary cap has gone up a lot. Now that deal for Dalman's not looking like, even though it is technically right now top center money, it really isn't in terms of the actual value of the money that teams can give to a player.
Fact.
Carrots at PFF ranked number 4 and New Zealand 25th on that same list, determined by player grades. And 25th might not sound good, but if you have chemistry with the line already, you can make it work.
And he was a backup and still got 25th. That's my thing. Like, he came in because Dalman got injured and got the playing time. So he still had to do something. And Ryan Nuzil did do good work. Nobody up here ever said that he didn't. So, I mean, you could go that route again. Like I said, wanted to give Drew Dalman a little love because of what he's done. He is important to the Falcons. But that price tag, unless he's going to come back on a Falcon-friendly ticket, like you guys are saying in the chat, and I completely agree with you guys, he's probably out of here. And Georgia Texas boy Nuzil has more practice with Michael Penix Jr. in my opinion. It's not just your opinion, brother. That's facts. I mean, you think about it, Nuzil, even on the practice squads or the second teams, that's Nuzil and Michael Penix. That's not Dalman and Michael Penix. So good point. All right, Smitty, who you got next, man?
Did you go, Bryce?
I did my first one already.
Okay, so
yeah, we on
you went offense. You went offense, so I'm gonna go offense too. This is tight end position, and this really, to me, I only made this pick because I really don't know what Kyle Pitts' future is in Atlanta, and I see all these sites saying, he's going to get traded, what they're going to get for him. But I feel like I can get a cheap option that really hasn't got a shot like he's supposed to. And that's Harrison Bryant, former John Mackey Award winner at Florida Atlantic. He's 6'5", 230. He has 98 career catches, 877 yards, 10 touchdowns, same amount as Kyle Pitts. Um, and he was in Las Vegas last year with the Raiders, and he was on a team with Brock Bowers, Michael Mayer, 2 first-round tight ends, and he really didn't get a chance in Cleveland. He played behind David Njoku, couldn't get a chance. So now you put him in Atlanta, it gives him a chance as a receiving tight end, which he can put up the numbers because he'll get a chance. And if Kyle Pitts is traded um, at the draft or during any part of the offseason, this is a guy that can come in at probably a $3.5 to $5 million cap number. That is very, very cheap and affordable. And could give you the same production. I would definitely think about it. Because one thing that I do know from Mike Pence watching him in those 3 games, he would definitely not be able to just take shots in the end zone. And this is something that this team has needed for a long time. And we've talked about it on the show, God knows how many times. You got twin towers at receivers and tight ends, yet and still you don't know how to throw a back shoulder fade. Yet and still you don't know how to throw 50-50 balls up in the air for one of those guys to come down with it. And it's frustrating because I feel like Kyle Pitts with the right quarterback, he can be an all-pro every year. So now, don't know what the future is going to be for him, but Harrison Bryant, to me, watching him in college, knowing what he can do and not really getting a shot in the NFL, I feel like Harrison Bryant can come in and give you decent numbers every single year. Depending on what you want to do. And there's no knock to Charlie Warner, but we know Charlie Warner is a blocking tight end because he's on the right side helping McGarry every single down. He's in the backfield as an H-back, and he's in line on the other side. So we already know what his role is. You need to bring in another tight end for receiving. I think Harrison Bryant is a good choice. And honestly, even if we keep Kyle Pitts, I still think it would be a nice option. Because guess what? You need a change of pace guy. He could be that guy because guess what? Nobody's game planning for him. So that's just some that I thought about at the tight end position, and I just feel like Harrison Bryant can do that.
That's interesting. New tight end. Whew, Bryce, who you got, man? Who you got?
All right. We're going to stay on the defensive side of the ball here. We're going to look at the inside linebacker position. Obviously, Landman is a restricted free agent, so could come back. They have his control of him. It's just a matter of do they want him back. Obviously, felt like groin injury, came back, never was the same player. So now it's just a matter of do we think that's what he is or do we think he can bounce back? But if they don't, I feel like that's a position they still won't, maybe at least in the inside spot, invest a ton of money into. And if that's the case, you probably want to look for a veteran presence there. So I'm looking at Bobby Wagner, who's coming off a strong season with the Commanders this past year. The reason why is just a guy who, again, if you do go the draft some linebackers, you do still have Troy Anderson and them there. He could be a great leader. He could be a great veteran, a great teacher for those guys. I think he was big for Washington's defense because of the fact of his impact just as a leader on the field, his ability to make calls and really command the defense. So I think that would be someone who, would be great to try to replace, especially what Landman was giving you. I think you could definitely still get more out of Bobby. And it wouldn't even have to be a long-term contract or anything like that. That could just be another 1-year thing, just kind of set the tone, help with the culture, try to establish something while he's there and things of that nature. So that's the reason why you would look in that direction. Obviously, like I said, I still would look into the draft to draft a guy. So this is not this is the guy, but a guy who I think could be, someone who could maybe be a good bridge guy. Because like I said, he did have a good year in Washington. You can't deny that. Because people thought he was washed, and he showed you he wasn't washed. Obviously, you have to take him off on third downs, which I'm sure they'll go to like a 2 linebacker thing at that moment, and you can take Bobby off third downs. That's fine. But someone who could bring it for those reasons.
Okay, all right. Somebody, all right. Man, sorry. So my fourth.
Hold on, Chris.
What's going? What you got,
Bryce? What you think his cap number would be?
It's kind of. It really just depends. Last year he got 6.5, I think, for his contract. So,
that's very affordable.
Yeah, like it's not like this is like going to be crazy breaking the bank. But he had a good year. He might be like, all right, maybe I want 8. 9. You never know. Just because he came off a good year, he technically could say, "I'm still a little productive." So it really just kind of depends what he wants to do.
Man.
Also,
Right,
I think, Bryce, you're thinking about the salary cap as well when you're saying guys like that. And I mean, it's going to be, I looked at a few guys too who could possibly come in and do something and not be too crazy on the salary cap. But I ain't gonna lie, I got some big swings coming up too that I'm be talking about. So we'll see what happens when we get there. I would say my fourth player, because I know for me that's why Drew Dalman was fifth, because he's offensive, and that's the only offensive player I'm looking at, if any. But for my fourth player, I'm going to the cornerback spot myself. And this guy, his dad played for the Atlanta Falcons once before as well. I'm talking about Asante Samuel Jr., somebody who has been dealing with injuries. I know he had a stinger issue. That will be something to look into, as far as the medical goes. But a guy who has played inside, a guy who's played slot, you possibly bring him in. You may have seen the last of, let's say, like a D Alford in Atlanta. But I know D Alford is also a restricted free agent as well. So we'll see what happens with that. But Asante Samuel Jr. is a guy that you can possibly take a risk on. He can come in and possibly do damage for the Atlanta Falcons in a good way. I like him. I've always, liked Asante Samuel Jr. It's his injuries. And that's always going to be the question mark. But again, he only made $1.8 million last year. So
rookie contract.
Yeah,
that number's going to go up, though, trust me.
Of course, but my thing is that the number's not going to be crazy. He hasn't really shown a lot. So that's what I'm saying. Like, he's not going to be asking you for 10, 15 mil. He can't. He doesn't have the production. Nothing's on film even generate
honestly,
that.
I think he'll be in the 8 to 10 million range.
That'll be absolutely crazy, and I'm not signing him for that. I'm just
if somebody believes in it, it's only take one team to believe in him, and anybody can get into a bidding war. It happens all the time.
Right. But that's just at the end of the day, Asante Samuel Jr. and just like Bro Talk has even said, yep, give him a shot at nickel again. And that's what I'm looking at. He played outside. He can help you out on the outside, but putting him in that nickel position, I think he would flourish really for the Atlanta Falcons, seriously. And again, like I said, his father, he comes from that bloodline. Y'all know who Asante Samuel is. Y'all know who he is before he was a Falcon and while he was a Falcon. So I'm just saying he's got that bloodline, and he plays physical and tough as well, just like Dad. So I bring him in, man. I really would. Again, 1.8 million last year. That number will go up. I don't see anybody really giving him 8 to 10 because my thing is, why would you when he has improved everything? Like, I would give him a prove it deal, and then might possibly come back a little bit later on, if he has a good year. But again, another good player. Another player, like I said, on the defensive end who possibly can come in for the Atlanta Falcons, man.
Yeah, I got Asante Samuel Jr. on my list as well. I looked up his market value. His market value is actually 11.5. So in that aspect, and you think about it, it's fair because when you talk about guaranteed money, he may sign a 3-year, $24 million, 3-year, $30 million deal, but guess what? Only about 10 to 12 of it will be guaranteed, which means the rest of it will be incentives, roster bonuses, and incentives in his contract. So I could see them going out to Asante Samuel Jr. because if you look at how he plays a lot like his dad. He's very aggressive. He's not scared to take chances, and you need that in your cornerbacks. And we talk about Clark Phillips in the nickel. He's a little bit bigger than Clark Phillips, so he could play outside if he needed to. But for what you're getting in a young player, he's still 25 years old. Age alone gives you reason to go after a guy like this. So yeah, Asante Samuel Jr. is on my list as well.
Okay, I'll give you that point. I know when you said about the age, I mean, that is a valuable point because we look at it just like how we was talking about off air about Kyle Pitts and him being young, and then you see what Deebo Samuel got traded for. I mean, Kyle Pitts is a little younger, so it's just different aspects. But that age is my point. That he's still young, man. But that's another reason why I want to bring him in. And no, Miss Carey, I seen your comment about Mike Hughes. Me personally, I'm over Mike Hughes. That's just me personally. I mean, I don't know how you guys feel about
Well,
Mike.
honestly, bro,
I'm
I
not
wouldn't
saying
be
he was
mad.
bad.
I
was
wouldn't be
not
mad
saying
about Mike. But Chris, think about it. If you look at what Mike Hughes did the first part of the season when they were 6-3 and they were rolling, Mike Hughes was playing very solid. When
Absolutely.
Jimmy Lake took over the defense completely, everything broke down. That Minnesota game made everybody look bad. When they turned the defense back over to Raheem and Jerry Gray during that 5-week stretch, where we were getting sacks, we were getting pressures, pass breakups, and things of that nature, Mike Hughes came back to being Mike Hughes. And you got to understand, Jerry Gray was the one that brought Mike Hughes to Atlanta because he was in Minnesota when they took him in the first round. So with Jerry Gray still being here, and if he's still on a deal that could work for the salary cap, $5 to $6 million, I'm taking that every day, twice on Sunday. Because you got to understand too that not only does he play defensive back, he plays special teams too. So you get a 2-for-1 in a guy like Mike Hughes. So I would not throw him up under the bus. I blame a lot of this last year's poor defensive play on poor scheming by Jimmy Lake.
And I agree. I also look at Mike Hughes, and I already knew that he was coming into the season what he was, a Band-Aid. And to be honest, Mike Hughes, like I said, he did well. I enjoyed Mike Hughes last year because I feel like he did better than Jeff Okudah the year before. But that's pretty much the same song. A guy that started out well for the Atlanta Falcons, kind of drifted off, and then Jeff Okudah lost his whole starting time. But Mike Hughes was trending that way. Mike Hughes also, you can bring him back. If they bring him back, I'm not mad if they do. But I can go without Mike Hughes. I can go and try to either one, go after Asante Samuel Jr. or the other corner that I'm going to name, or go into the draft because there's some dudes coming out in this draft, okay?
Yeah, but you got to think too, man. After a certain amount of time, people get film on you. They learn how to attack you. And once they learn how to attack Mike Hughes, that's another reason why he fell off. It's up to that player to adjust. It's up to that coach.
Up in 2025.
Yeah, it's up,
especially with the scheme we were running.
Yeah, it's up to the coaches. Right. It's up to the coaches to keep those guys in line. So the coaches don't coach them right.
I think honestly, y'all, again, I don't have any gripe with Mike Hughes. They bring him back on a cheap option. I'm not mad.
I think they will.
But I think just ultimately, I'm just ready just to move on. I'm ready to get that CB2 position solidified. Whether you go get Jair Alexander, whether you go in the draft, whether you know what I'm saying, one of those things. It's just I'm over it. You know what I'm saying? Like I'm just ready to get that position solidified. And if you know, so I know Asante Samuel Jr. to some people would be a Band-Aid. I don't think that. I think that's just a young guy who's had some trouble. Who's had some troubles, you know, staying healthy. It happens. A lot of people have gone through that, but he could still end up being your CB2, or you can go get one of these guys in the draft. Again, I will state it again. These corners, some of those corners that are coming out this year are going to be some dudes, man, for real. And it's not just 40 times. It's all the drills.
And if y'all want our thoughts on Jair Alexander, man, y'all go check out our last live stream. Me and Chris did a live stream with this topic. We had a ball, man, and y'all go check that out. And we gave y'all reasons why Jair Alexander would not be a bad move for the Atlanta Falcons. But Bryce, sorry for going and going, but
I'm glad you got.
Yeah, that's a question, but hey, it is what it is.
Make sure y'all check that out.
Yeah, so I mean, since we're talking about defensive back still, I'll go ahead and get my second person. This obviously is a more expensive person. He's someone who some people think could get cornerback one money, but if Falcons free up some money, it's someone, if you wanted to really solidify that position, I think you should look into potentially Byron Murphy. He's coming off a career high in interceptions. He had 6 this past season. I think he would kind of fit what they want to do. Like I said, this is more of a we really just want to nail down that position for a few years. And obviously, the biggest thing for him is he's going to test the market and see what he can get, see what other teams are doing. So obviously, from a money perspective, it may not work. But if it's one thing the Falcons want to do to make a big move to solidify that second spot, and again, still with some, like I said, especially with the limited draft capital that you have this year, do you swing for guys like this just because it's not like we have all these picks to begin with? You have a first round pick, you may want to go more on the front seven. So if you want to make a move in the secondary, I think Byron Murphy would be someone to definitely look into. And like I said, I think he would be a really good fit for that secondary guy who can create turnovers. You have AJ on the other side, kind of evens out since we say AJ doesn't, get a lot of interceptions. Get a guy who can be a ball hawk with Jesse Bates and kind of see how that looks.
Hey, I like that pick, and I understand. I looked at his name. I looked at him in the free agency pool, and I'm looking at his market value is $22 million, and that's more than AJ. But you're right. If you want to swing for the fence and solidify this defense, you go out and get a Byron Murphy to pair with Jesse Bates and AJ Terrell. Then in the draft, you go out and get a Mike Green or a Jalen Walker or somebody to that effect. You turn this defense around in one offseason. And don't forget, you have a second round pick, and they're going to be edge rushers in the second round. So you could possibly nail that pick in first round, edge rusher, second round. Go get that linebacker we talked about, such as Barrett Carter from Clemson or someone of that nature. It sounds good, and it could work because Byron Murphy, he didn't get a fair shot at Arizona. Let's keep it real. He had Butter Baker there, but on the other side of him, he had trash the whole 3 years he was there. So,
and he got under Brian Flores in Minnesota, and he had a career year.
Right.
So,
right. So sometimes change is good.
Somebody may pay his behind, man, but we'll see what happens.
Think about it too. Jerry Gray, defensive back coach here, so he's not going to skip a beat. He's going to probably pick up where he left off last year.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think too, they also just want, because Byron's almost basically 6 feet, so a little bit slightly bigger guy. I think Mike Hughes is like 5'9", 5'10",
5'10" with some stilts. No,
so I mean, you get like just a little slightly a little bit bigger at that spot. Just try to get that size out there in the cornerback position, just so that way, when you play teams like Tampa Bay, Mike Evans, a big receiver. So you got a guy for Chris Godwin, you know what I'm saying? Just having better matchups on the end instead of like, okay, well, Mike Hughes is matched up against a really tall receiver. So, he might try to take advantage of that because they know, okay, he has the size and Hughes doesn't have that. So I think, like I said, Byron, especially with his ball skills, I think would be really good to, especially if they want to make this defense more aggressive. He would definitely, I think, fit that.
I like it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I like it.
Agreed.
Hey, man, I'm going to stay with the cornerback position. Familiarity alert. Hey, man, I'm just saying, familiarity alert. This right here is another corner and is another reason why I'm saying you don't have to bring back Mike Hughes just yet unless it's a cheap option. DJ Reed, former Jet, tough physical corner, always around the ball. Now, his knack is similar to AJ. He doesn't get a lot of interceptions. But, I mean, he does make a lot of good tackles. He's had 51 career pass deflections. And let's just be honest, it's all putting it into basketball terms. If you don't get the steal, at least try to get the deflection. Everyone can't be Dyson Daniels. I digress. But, on 96 pass coverage snaps, Reed allowed just 40 yards. On 96 pass coverage snaps, he only allowed 40 yards. So take that in consideration. Now him and Mike Hughes are around the same size and height. So it would be kind of like, but he would be somebody that Jeff Ulbrich is familiar with, somebody that can get familiar with Jerry Gray and how to play the ball game, Jerry Gray's way. It could be familiarity, and I do believe that we're going to at least get one. It may be two. We'll see what happens, but I think we're going to at least get one player from the Jets. If it's anybody, I would say, hey, man, go ahead and get that corner position locked up, something that will help the pass rush, something that will help the defense overall, and you will have DJ Reed coming in, filling that void.
Agreed. That would be a nice sign. Like you said, Ulbrich is he's familiar with him, and it makes sense to a certain extent. But we talk about familiarity. We're gonna keep that same theme going. And Ms. Dunn Poe, she said we need defensive tackle to command double teams to help out these younger defensive ends. So this is why I went back to the Rams and Greg Gaines. He played up under Raheem Morris with the Rams. He played with Tampa Bay last year. He has 12 and a half career sacks. No, he's not gaudy when it comes to stats, but he's excellent in the run lane. He can control gaps. And I think this is what the Falcons need. He's still on the younger side. I think he's 29 or 30. And when you look at Grady Jarrett, you look at Onyemata, you look at big numbers. And their production does not warrant those numbers. So you go out and get a guy like this, possibly anywhere from, I say, $3.5 to $5.5, $6 million a year. That's a steal compared to 16 and 8. So you go get somebody that Raheem Morris is familiar with, that played on the other side of Aaron Donald, that can help Rook along, help Dorless transform. And I hope Dorless gets playing time this year because I think I see him at Whataburger flipping patties last year because he wasn't on the field.
Get some extra cash, bro. Gotta try to get some extra cash.
But look, you got to get on the field, man. You got to find a way to make plays. And Greg Gaines, yes, he's a little bit on the short side at 6'1", but he's 320 pounds. So you know he's going to eat up space. He can play defensive tackle. He can play nose tackle. So it's just something value-wise, it just makes a lot of sense for the Atlanta Falcons.
Like it. What you got, Bryce?
Okay. All right. So sticking with if they wanted to make a splash, we kind of mentioned this a little bit before we got on here. Looking at the pass rush position, obviously a position that they need a lot of help at. You have Arnold Ebiketie, who you're excited about. You think you think you can get that next step with him. Yeah, they free up money. I look into Josh Sweat from the Eagles. I would look into him.
Okay.
See a young pass rusher. Especially if the Eagles do go after Myles Garrett, that could mean the end of Josh Sweat in Philadelphia.
Oh, it will be the end of Joshua.
That means he'll be out there for a team. And so the Falcons, like I said, get some money freed up. They take a swing, get a young pass rusher, pair him with Ebiketie, still have a first-round pick if you want a second-round pick, if you want to add another one in the draft. I think now the pass rush looks totally different. You still have Braylon Trice coming back this year. We'll see how he looks. So
a lot of rookie seasons coming up.
Exactly. So, you want to have somebody established in there. Josh Sweat made a couple big plays in the Super Bowl. It's all over Patrick Mahomes. He's a guy who I feel like he can turn speed into power, which is what makes him a very talented defensive end and why he was so impactful in Philadelphia in regardless of that. But, I think that's something, again, Falcons got money. I mean, they have been adamant about saying defense is what they need to fix. They've been adamant. Raheem mentioned it at the combine, pass rush. Got to fix the pass rush. That would be the first big swing you can make there to fix that position. And then immediately now you're looking at a different pass rush than we had this past season.
Yeah. Oh, man. Okay, here comes one of my big swings, y'all. Here comes one of my big swings. And we're staying with the Eagles. If this man becomes available any kind of way possible, it's almost like going to the draft, talking about running to the podium. Yeah, I'm definitely hitting his line. Now, he is 28 years of age, but he is an interchangeable piece. I think you can make him be the running mate of Caden Ellis, and I am caught saying Mr. Zachary Bond, somebody who has reasserted his career, somebody who is an interchangeable piece for these Eagles. He can, rush inside, outside. The Zach Bond can do it all. And he's really made some money this offseason. Honestly, somebody's going to pay Zach Bond a lot of money, whether it's the Eagles or anybody else. But that's a guy right there who is going to bring command. Somebody who's a veteran, somebody who can go along with Caden Ellis, Captain America, J.D. Bertrand would not have to necessarily be forced into situations. Troy Anderson, I'm not sure what you really do with him, but honestly, he can't stay healthy enough for me. And your best ability is your availability. I'm looking at a guy who was available all season long, Zach Bond.
Okay. Yeah, they do that. I mean, again, probably be one of those got to pay some money, but
you got to pay some money.
Basically can impact the field in multiple positions, can play, He can rush a little bit, drop back into coverage. Obviously, he had that turnover in the Super Bowl. I mean, honestly, him and Kalen probably be a great duo together. I think that would be a fantastic fit if Raheem and Jeff can like really come up with something to really make both of them dynamic out there. Especially again if they go to the 2 linebacker set, because that would probably be your 2 linebackers.
Mm-hmm. And a reunion as well. Just like Georgia Texas boy already took care of it for me. Appreciate you, brother. As Bond and Ellis played together in New Orleans, so reunited and it feels so good.
Y'all ain't right. But here's something to think about. Jamie Sherwood is one of my top free agent targets for the Atlanta Falcons. I did a video on him about almost a month ago because I think he could come in right away. Talk about a former safety that transitioned into linebacker. And last year up under Robert Saleh and Jeff Ulbrich in New York, he turned it around. So Sherwood is one that I'm looking at. And we talking about Bond versus Sherwood. If I had to take one of those guys, it will probably be Sherwood because Sherwood is a better cover linebacker. So that is one that I would, weigh out on the scale pretty much. And it would be a tough decision, but I think Sherwood would be the better fit because of what he can do. Let's go. We talking about veterans right now. And for my last one, I'm going cornerback and I'm going to stay there. Javarius Ward, former 49ers cornerback. He's one of those guys that I think could be a wild card for a lot of teams. You talk about a guy who just coming off a 3-year, $40 million deal with the 49ers. And I looked at his market value. It's still up there around $15 million. But I feel like you can get him anywhere from 10 to 12, depending on if you can bring in other players to persuade him to come here. But knowing what he's done in San Francisco, he's a good zone cornerback, which Atlanta loves to run. So he fits in that aspect. He can play a little bit of safety too, because we see him drop back at the safety position as well. And he can play the nickel position. So he's a Mr. Do-it-all at the cornerback position. Yeah, he's 29, almost 30 years old, but I still feel like he got a lot left in the tank because I feel like he got shortchanged in San Francisco because of the way they, ran defensive schemes. So you really couldn't see his talent, but put him in the right scheme, like in Atlanta, where he has help on the other side and, up top. I feel like he could be probably one of the biggest offseason free agent steals in 2025, depending on where he lands.
Okay.
Like it.
Yeah, definitely for sure. So my last person here, we're gonna go back to secondary. Obviously, underrated issue in the secondary is who's next to Jesse Bates, right?
Right.
Now I am a person who believes the scheme hurt Justin Simmons, but at the same time, if the Falcons wanted to maybe try to get someone there to be there for a few years, I would look into Justin Reed from Kansas City. I would look into Justin Reed.
I ain't pick him.
Yeah. I knew one of y'all was gonna pick him. Which one?
Glad I went with the other Reed.
I mean,
good stuff, man.
I mean, he's been a part of the Super Bowl success for the Kansas City Chiefs. He's been a part of what they've been doing. He's good in the run, good in coverage. And I feel like also he's a guy who, if they are looking for a different type of safety, because with Justin they were looking for more of also another ball hawk type of guy. Reed really that isn't what he's known for. He's just good at playing his assignment, like I said, helping him run support and also being good in coverage. So that could be a guy if they want a different type of safety next to Bates and you want Bates to roam more in because he can do that. I think Justin Reed would be a really good person to kind of because I think he also can keep the defensive line, can maybe take pressure off Bates if that's something he's doing within the secondary. And just really, like I said, he still gives you that veteran experience. He's 28, I believe. So, not 30, still young. And again, it doesn't have to be some super long-term deal. It could be 2-3 years. Obviously, a little bit more pricey for his services. So we'll have to see what that looks like. I think Kansas City's preparing to lose him this offseason. Obviously, they have limited money just based off, Patrick Mahomes contracts and other things. So I think he would be someone that I think the Falcons could definitely look into to solidify the secondary for sure at the safety spot, especially because you don't know, do you believe in DeMarco Hellams at that spot next year? I think, everybody despises Richie Grant for some, so I mean, you gotta do something at that spot, if it's
man,
not.
You trying to start it right. You're talking about you trying to start it right, man.
So I can say who could be impactful. Because like I said, I think the Falcons are willing to be a little bit aggressive in those positions because they feel like, defense is the issue, offense is set. If we can get some guys who can come in here and play and make immediate impacts, and then you can maybe, like I said, you select who you want to put the young players at and where you think you can grow. Obviously, D-line's been a position they've done, and maybe even linebacker. But I think secondary, I think they want, like I said, Jerry Gray back there. I think somebody who has that experience, who knows how to play, who's played in big moments, it would be a good fit. Because obviously you notice a lot of the people I've mentioned have Super Bowl experience, playoff experience, coming from winning teams. So just in trying to use that into the culture in Atlanta and help, even like I said, the young guys that are there, just, this is what you got to do if you're going to take that next step. And that's what we're trying to do here in Atlanta.
Right.
Facts,
Before I
facts.
go, man, I just want to say, Kerry, Chase Young is not a bad option. I feel like, he had a decent year in New Orleans to a degree. I know they wanted a lot better. They wanted a double-digit sack guy, 15 sacks down there in New Orleans. I mean, he didn't give them that, but that could be a cheap option as well. I like that.
But think about it, Chris. He didn't start not one game, so he did what he was supposed to do.
Yeah, he did. Also, you got Ojulari, somebody who was linked to the Falcons around the trade deadline, and I'm glad we didn't necessarily pull the trigger because, he's a free agent now anyway. You can possibly go after him as well. But I can't see the comment. I know you put it up on the screen earlier, but my man Slim, he stole my thunder but we're on the same wavelength because Edge from Las Vegas Raiders is like pretty much the last guy I was going to make. Yes, Malcolm Kuntz. And I was between him and Dre Greenlaw because, Greenlaw is also somebody who was coming off of an injury. He only played like 2 games last year. Maybe San Francisco want to move on. Maybe the Atlanta Falcons, and give him a prove-it deal if no one else is trying to give him big money, possibly bring him in. Be a linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. But the reason why I like Malcolm is because even though like he was injured, what I'm banking on for him would be his production this upcoming season. He had an injury. Remember, he had a season-ending injury at the early of 2024. And, I believe that it may be a possibility this guy can come in on a short-term deal possibly and still, come in and be productive. And you may have a diamond in the rough, somebody that you paid a little money to and can come in and help the pass rush. Like his pass grades, I'm looking it up on PFF right now. 78.9. True pass set pass rush grade is 82.5. So that's not bad. You bring that in. Run grade defense is 66.3, but at the end of the day, you're still getting somebody who can get after the quarterback, somebody who's coming off of injury. But I already know this guy right here is going to be ready to be chomping at the bit. Las Vegas Raiders may not bring him back. If you do, he's somebody that you would be. The reason why it's a big swing because he's coming off of an injury, so you are taking a risk. But it would have been the same thing if you do go after Dre Greenlaw. So that's pretty much what rounds it out for me. So these are just guys that all the guys that I was looking at is I'm thinking about salary cap, I'm thinking about fit. And thinking about, also taking the big swings. So that's why I said Zach Bond, that's a big swing. Shoot, even if you went after Nick Bolton, that's a big swing too, for those who may like Bolton. But that's where I'm going to hang my hat and I'm going to land my plane, guys. Thank you, Kerry. Thank you so much. Thank y'all, everyone, for coming in and tuning in too, man. Of course we can't do this without y'all. Y'all know that already.
Facts.
Yep.
But any closing remarks, Bryce?
Not necessarily, man. I think it's just at this point, man, we're just kind of waiting to see how things play out, man. We'll see what the restructures look like. But we'll see how much money they free up and see if that opens the door for some of the big names we mentioned, or do they, if they have to go cost effective, some of the other names that maybe are not as pricey, but could be, like you said, good value, good upside, and things like that, because this probably will affect whatever they do in the draft. So, and I've seen different things that like pass rush, they might have want to address in free agency and then focus on other things in the draft. So it'll be interesting to see what that plan is, moving forward with them and where Raheem thinks they need to do. Because obviously, I think at the end of the day, I've said this, after seeing how they lost the last 2 games, getting walked down by Panthers and getting walked down by the Commanders, especially Commanders, because that was very
that was our game.
Yeah,
that was our game.
He was like, yeah, we got to get some guys who can make some plays, because we can't be getting walked down like this, and then our offense doesn't get an opportunity, or offense is put into a tight spot.
Yeah, or too many timeouts.
Yeah, you can't put a young quarterback under that kind of pressure that early in his career. That's a no-no.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, man. Hey, y'all make sure y'all keep it locked. Y'all keep the notification bell handy. I know me and Smitty, we was definitely looking at some draft videos, some combine video. Like, again, there's some dudes coming out, and we're planning on talking about some guys that have raised their draft stock, maybe some guys that we possibly can go after. Again, I am king trade back in this draft. If anybody wants to know what A1 Forever wants to do, it's trade back, okay? So let's get that out of the way. What do you want to do? Trade back. What if such and such is there? Okay, that's fine. Trade back. I just want more picks, man. We got because holes, and we got to feel.
We gave y'all the perfect window to look at it through our last mock draft. So if y'all go check that out, y'all will see how that could be a big advantage for the Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, we may not get the guy that y'all want, but at the same time, if you get somebody that fits your scheme and they come out with a chip on their shoulder from day one, hey, they can make the same impact as some of these superstar caliber players that they're hyping up for the draft. Because let's be real, the draft is all about hype. If you get hyped at the right time, guess what? You rise up the board. And sometimes you have that diamond in the rough that slides back on the board, and guess what? He can fall in our lap. Because honestly, if y'all are old school fan like me, I would have never thought Travis Hall would have been one of the best defensive tackles in Falcons history. But guess what? He was a 5th round pick, and he was. So it happens. It happens. But great show, man. Great show. Before we get out, man, please tell everybody where to find y'all.
Yes, sir. Appreciate y'all letting me come on, man. Talk some Falcons with y'all. Really good doing this. If you guys want to keep up with me, all my social media is Pricey_2K. You can see it on the screen. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, all of those things. I've also hosted the Believe in Hawks podcast, covering the Atlanta Hawks throughout the entire season and off season. So obviously I'll have an episode late tonight after the game. And yeah, like I said, man, I appreciate you, Smitty, Chris, letting me come on and talk about some Falcons.
Yep. That's what I'm talking about, man. A1 Forever Sports, guys. That is the platform on YouTube. Please come over, like, comment, and subscribe. That's where you can, find all of my content there. Also, TikTok. Got my TikTok back. Yeah. So it's the real A1 Forever on TikTok, Instagram, and X or Twitter, Fitter, whatever they want to call it. You can just find me at A1 Forever over there too. So, hey, man, come on over. Let's have a sports conversation, or if you just want to talk about who has the best A hats or whatever, what color A hat, whatever, Alabama, whoever, Atlanta, whatever y'all want to do. And please make sure and thank you, Miss Carrie. I was just about to mention, check your boy out over there at the Hawks Digest as well. Me and Walter Pollard over there growing that channel right now, getting closer to 1,100 on the subscribers / supporters. And we thank you so very much, for that over there. I'm just trying to move around, just trying to move around in a good way, because I know that move around thing means something else. So, yeah, man, thank you guys for everything. Like, seriously, can't do none of this stuff without each and every one of you. So, appreciate y'all guys for real.
100. But y'all know where to catch me, man. Smitty Sports Machine. I'm all over the place, man. I'm always somewhere on Twitter blowing things up, or I'm on the NFC South Roundtable with my homies, TJ James and Clay, doing the NFC South Roundtable. Y'all can check that out on YouTube as well. So now y'all have 2 avenues to where y'all can find me. And
Yeah.
I may start writing soon. I'm still trying to make up my mind if I want to do that or not. Because before I started this podcasting, I used to write articles and things, and I was pretty good at it. But we'll see what that turns out to be. But Bryce, again, man, thank you for coming through and helping us out, man. We're gonna jump on some Hawk shows because this all season for the Hawks gonna be critical. Because we have a young team still, and I still feel like we need that veteran piece to come in with Trey Young, Jalen Johnson, and those guys. Because I think the Hawks actually are 1 player away from being a solid team in the East. No, they're not Boston or Cleveland solid, but I feel like it would put them in the right direction. Because let's be real, Trey Young is not going to stay here if they don't get him help. And could you blame him? I couldn't.
I think the patience is running thin. I know I feel like he's a loyal guy. I feel like he doesn't just want to uproot and leave out of Atlanta. He has a lot of things going on here, just outside of basketball, business-wise, personally, different things as well. But hey, I can't lie, and Bryce probably agree. We got to make some moves because even the most loyal person gets tired if nothing happens.
Facts. Even Michael Jordan got tired.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, yeah, we'll have to see what that looks like. Because I said like earlier, like a few weeks ago, I said next year really could be a boom year for them. In terms of like taking another step, just because of the way things look. Dyson take another step, Zach takes another step. You get Jalen back. Don't forget Jalen Okongwu, positive net rating on the floor together. Really good chemistry between the two. I said really the big thing will be the bench. That's what they got to figure out. The starting lineup is set next year. What's the bench like? You got to figure out that. And if you can nail that down, then you'll have an idea of what this team's going to be. So
super facts. Because all these G League players, even though they have potential, they don't have the NBA. They don't have the experience.
That boy Slim said he thought Bryce was Nate Burleson when he first got on.
Come on, Slim. Don't do that. Hurricane LLC, Ryan, what's up, man? Thank you. Please go check out this video at the beginning if you missed it. Always a great show with these 2 guys, man. Y'all please go check these 2 guys out. And also, please check out Bro Talk, Dirty Bird Central, my boy 95 North, Falcons Talk Show on 95 North Berto, man. Y'all please go check them out on YouTube as well. Look, I would have never guessed Nate Burleson. That was good.
I'm done. I've been told that like plenty of people, man. I've never got the Nate Burleson. That's the first one. That's the first time.
Hey, it happens. Trust me, it happens. But for my boy Bryce and my boy A1, man, we gonna see y'all on the flip side, man. Hey, look, we gonna be looking at a draft wish list too, because some of these guys turned it out at the draft and their stock is about to go through the roof. So y'all stay tuned for that. We'll be on a little bit later tonight, and we're gonna have some fun with that one as well. But we'll see y'all soon, and we're gonna holler. Peace.
That part.